My name is Rebecca Leggett. I'm originally from the Central Coast in New South Wales, but currently living in Launceston, Tasmania. So currently I'm working as an HR business partner for the water utility in Tasmania, Taswater. I began mentoring with Tracy as a result of doing the RIV boot camp last year in September. So that was quite literally life-changing for me. And I kind of knew from probably the third or fourth day that I would want to do mentoring. But I kind of was going back and forth with talking myself out of it and talking myself into it. By the end of RIV boot camp, I just decided it was what I really needed, because I was feeling kind of in a rut. I kind of had the best of intentions, but I didn't have the tools or the know-how to get to the next level. So I felt like I'd kind of maxed out what I could do on my own, and I just needed someone to help me take the next step. Ooh, that's interesting. I think I had several every session. My greatest aha moment would have been realising that I was sacrificing what I truly wanted for the title and rank and money and job and busyness that I thought was going to define me. So I was kind of turning my back on what I really wanted, not listening, chasing something that my ego was telling me would make me safe. So realising that I was doing things backwards, which I realised a lot through the mentoring, which was because, my ego was steering the ship. And trying to steer me to safety, which I understand. But realising that I could acknowledge that and give my ego a job to keep it busy, but then also still look at what I really want and start listening to my higher self. That was my biggest aha. The mentoring has changed the way I approach myself, first and foremost. So I'm much kinder to myself. Like, I talk to myself like a beloved, like a loved one or a friend, and I call myself darling and sweetheart, not you idiot, or you're ridiculous. And I catch myself doing it, and it's such a heart swell every time. It's also changed how I show up in the world. So, when I show up, I think before I go into each situation, what's my intention for this interaction or this meeting or this project or this conversation. I also use the authenticity triad a lot to figure out how I really feel about things. And I also am a lot more honest with myself. So because I'm not being so critical of myself all the time, it's safe for me to say, oh, actually, in that interaction, I might not have been my real self. And I find myself circling back and saying to the person, oh, I said this before, but what I really meant and what I really feel is this. And I would have done that before, but that would have come from a place of needing them to understand who I am and needing to correct their assumption. Whereas now it's about correcting it so that I don't live outside of my authenticity and outside of my alignment. Oh, I got goosebumps saying that. So I'm uncompromising with my authenticity now. It has to be there in every small thing for me to feel in alignment. Also my sacred spaces. So I'm intensely protective of my sacred spaces now. So, and uncompromising with, sleep and spirituality, vitality. When I'm in my marriage with my husband, when I show up in that space, he's number one. Which I kind of always worried a little bit that we were living my life, that I was just charging ahead, alphaing my way through everything, which I probably was. I was. Whereas now it's so liberating to let go and to not have to forge the direction and to not have to have it all be about me. I can show up for him and with him as my best self. So I find that I'm more patient, more loving, kinder, and I don't take up all the space in the room. So he actually has some space to have a reaction every now and then, which he appreciates. I've had a lot of mentors and a lot of coaches in my life, professional and personal, and I can sidestep pretty much everyone. I can tell them what they want to hear. I can read a room really quickly and say what I need to say to get the outcome that I want, whether that's ego-driven praise or whether it's to get out of there as soon as possible. I found with Tracy, it was an interesting paradox because I found that Tracy was much softer and and more loving than I was expecting. So there was like that sweet kind of landing space, but at the same time wouldn't let me get away with my bullshit. So I'd built up walls and walls of stories around myself, and I think I was expecting Tracy to dismantle them with a wrecking ball, and it definitely wasn't that. She dismantled them persistently and consistently, but with love. That to me will stay with me forever. Do it. If you're thinking about it, you already need it. I can't imagine anyone ever doing mentoring with Tracy or being a client and coming away disappointed. I had pretty high expectations of the mentoring, and I was really prepared to not like it. But I am a complete convert. I think on some level I knew it was going to be transformative for me, and I truly believe in my heart and my soul that if someone is considering it, it's for a reason, and they just need to trust in Tracy, but trust in themselves that they've been led there for a reason, and just surrender as best you can, and Tracy will guide you through the rest. I want to be really honest about how I felt throughout the mentoring process. So, as I said, I've had mentoring and coaching a lot in my life, so I kind of intellectually knew that it was not going to be a walk in the park. It's definitely not. It's not easy. You have to really be prepared to commit to yourself and to dig deep. It's definitely worth it, but I'm not going to sit here and say that it's all airy-fairy and light. It's definitely not. You have to be prepared to go to that dark place. But I really do feel like Tracy is so well equipped to guide you back to yourself and the light. I no longer feel afraid of the dark, so I feel like I've been running from my darkness a lot in my life, and I don't feel afraid anymore because I feel like the mentoring gives me the tools I need to look at the dark and to sit in the dark without being afraid of it. So I feel more like a whole person. So is it easy? No. Is it worth it? Abso-fucking-lutely.